I am not a lawyer. I am not elected by any organization. I do not represent any organization. The reason that I'm up here is that my wife and I moved back to Albuquerque about the 1st of August. In California, after 12 years, we'd been hit by a rezoning where they told us all kinds of things, got it rezoned, sold it to another company who took that zoning and built things we didn't want. When I saw the yellow sign out there, my wife and I went downtown and got some information. We didn't like the information we got. We talked to neighbors. The neighbors got together and we had a meeting. And we had another meeting. And that is why I'm talking up here, because I kind of got this thing started. Okay, what I have to ask about and talk about tonight is, first of all, if you don't know how to get a hold of me, I want to put up here my email address. I hope you can read it, tjfoss4@gmail.com. One of the things that we have problems with in the neighborhood. Oh, I'm sorry, tjfoss, F-O-S, 4@gmail.com. Okay. Seem to have lost some papers here. Okay, the size of the thing that causes us problems. Number one, this building goes up to 60 feet. It runs back from the front to the back on the west side, 396 feet. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have exact figures. I'm going from what I could write off of the paper that I got in the staff report. So it may be a few feet one way or another, but it looks like 396 to me. That's a football field and a third. It's 4 stories high. When I looked on the staff report, there were pictures. If you don't have a staff report, go on to cabq.gov and put in this number and get this. You can get it online. When I saw this picture, it reminded me of a prison with guard towers. And at that point I thought, can't be that. Then I thought maybe it's a Holiday Inn Express. It was not necessarily that attractive to me. And coming up Harper from the west going east every night or morning whenever you drive that, it did not present necessarily an appealing picture to me. One of the things when I went through this that I found was a place where there's an existing lot line. And then there is a tract B1. And I was under the impression that Hoffmantown owned all of the land that was going to be used. Land B1 does not seem to be a Hoffmantown owned piece of land. So I researched a little bit, and the only thing I can come up with is that the city of Albuquerque is the owner of that strip of land. That goes from where like the fence is now out into the arroyo that runs north and south, where that one big tree has been left. And so I'm concerned as to who owns it and how they're getting it, and who's paying for it, and all that kind of information. Okay. I was also concerned about high-density housing. High-density housing, in order to get to high density, you have to go up. And usually, from what I can find, when you go up and you get high density, you use it as a transition between a residential area and a commercial or industrial type of operation. Those of you who are familiar with the south side of the Academy land, on the other side of Academy, where Moon is, there's some really gorgeous brick homes in there. And then as you go west, there's some apartments. And as you go west from the apartments, you have Smith's and Walmart and Pet Mart or whatever it is. That's very appropriate because you're going from a residential to a commercial, and you have apartments, and they call that a transition zone. But in our situation, we have residential, and then we have open space. And a 4-story building, to transition from residential to open space doesn't make sense to me. What transitions us from residential to 4-story apartments? The traffic in the area seems to be a problem to me. We've heard about the fact that people 75 years and over don't drive as much and so forth. But this is for people 62 up to the 75. I qualify for that property. If I could drag my wife in, I still wouldn't go. No. But anyway, she would say, no, we're not going there until I'm qualified for this. Okay? But we would go in there with 2 cars because she would not give up her car. And to paraphrase Charlton Heston, they'd have to pry the pickup keys out of my cold dead hand because I'm not giving up mine. And I think there's going to be way too much parking. Now, they have studies and all that. I only can do what I think. But I think the baby boomer generation is coming in. They're talking about baby boomer generation and some of this stuff. They're planning for it. The baby boomers are in the best condition, the most athletic, the best diets, and most of them drive sports cars, BMWs. Parking. The thing that bothers me is whenever you put a building in of this nature with a lot of people, with a lot of visitors, with a lot of workers, what's going to happen is the workers are going to come late or there's not going to be enough parking, and the streets in our neighborhood are going to be parked. Now they'll tell you it's not going to happen, and it may not. But if you've ever lived near a university or any large corporation that didn't provide enough parking, you know what happens. The streets are full of cars. Then you have to wait, you go to the city council and you get permit parking, and then they put up those little signs all up and down for permit parking and all that. And to me, that could be a problem. I haven't, figured it out yet. Okay. According to the zoning that I have been able to look at, and some of the people who are in this group that reacted when I came up here have been studying different areas. And I'm sure you will hear from them in their 2-minute time. But excuse me, lost my place here. Okay. Each of these buildings like this that they're putting in, to my idea and to what I have found out, is it belongs in an activity center. There are 2 activity centers, one near Wyoming and Harper, and I think the other is at Academy and Wyoming. And this is not in either one. We have this beautiful open space area, and it is not being paid for by the city. And it is something that you don't find in most places. It is gorgeous. We have our wild animals out there. The other night I was driving down Harbor, headed home. It was late. We'd been to the balloon glow and the fireworks. And as we came down Harbor, the coyote ran across the street in front of us. You'll be glad to know he didn't have an animal in his mouth. He was being a good boy that night. But we have hawks out there, peregrine falcons. We have snakes. We have roadrunners. Roadrunners come running up Red Sky every now and then because several of the homes, at least one has a beautiful xeriscape land, and they're in there looking